Hello, my name is Mauro Samarelli, and my presentation will be based on detection and prevention of TCP sink flood attacks concepts. Paper was written by Pedro, Ramos, and Jeremiah Tavares. So, in this video, we will take a look at what is a TCP sink flood attack and what are some of the key preventative methods and systems used by the author. So, without further ado, let's start the presentation. So our first objective is to identify what is a TCP sink flood attack. However, before we proceed, we must understand what TCP is, what is it used for, and how it can be exploited to perform DOS attacks. So the first question we ask is, what is TCP? So first, let's go over the basics of TCP, which stands for Transmission Control Protocol. So TCP works with the Internet Protocol and is the main protocol used on the Internet that operates at the network and transport layer 3 and 4 of the OSI and TCP over IP model, as highlighted here on this illustration. So, in a nutshell, TCP is a connection-oriented protocol which is used to establish and maintain network dialogues between a user and a server exchanging application data. The protocol was created to provide a more secure transmission, which guarantees data delivery, but also provides data integrity by waiting for all packets to arrive to its final destination. Each packet is then processed and acknowledged. In the event of a packet drop, a retransmission is requested for the missing packet. So Um, in a normal environment, TCP works by establishing a three-way handshake. It's broken down into three simple steps. So, in a normal environment, we'll have a client who is trying to establish a connection to a server. Okay. In the first step, the user will typically send out a synchronous bit requesting the server to begin communication with the client. Now, in the second step, the server responds to the client sync with a sync acknowledgement bit. In the third step, the client sends an acknowledgement bit which acknowledges the server's response and sends and establishes a secure and reliable connection, which it's established to help transfer application data. So now that we have a clear understanding of how TCP works, our follow-up question is, how does TCP sync flood operate? Um, the attacker sends a sync bit, and the server responds with a sync acknowledgement bit. However, acknowledgement bit is never sent by the attacker. Therefore, it leaves the connection halfway open. So at first glance, we can ask, how can a little sync here and there hurt our production environment? Well, once this action is repeated with hundreds of thousands of TCP sync requests, we can saturate server resources. Okay, while the server is sitting there waiting for that final packet to come in, to complete the handshake, the attack will exhaust the open connections, rendering the server at a complete halt. So, how do we detect and prevent sync flood DOS attacks? A common method we can use to detect malicious traffic is called an IDS and an IPS system, which stands for Intrusion Detection System, and the other one is called Intrusion Prevention System. Okay, so if the attacker who launched a malicious attack against a server, we would definitely want to know what the attack is, especially if the attack is sourced internally or externally. So as you can see here, there are two types of topologies that characterize the IDS versus IPS. So on the left here, we have the intrusion detection system, which is plugged into a switch. And let's say we have an attacker that launches a sync flood attack towards a server. We would take a copy of that traffic and send it to the IDS network appliance. So once the IDS sees that malicious traffic, it can send off an alert to the administrator. Now, the IDS appliance isn't really in the middle of the network, therefore, it can't really stop the attack. So it's got the ability to see the traffic and just send the alerts. On the right, we will compare the IPS and we see the appliance sits inline. So all the traffic sent from the attacker will traverse the system. If the appliance sees malicious traffic, it can stop it dead on its track by preventing from reaching its final destination. So comparing the comparison of both systems are pretty straightforward. Both appliances perform deep packet inspection and validate if there are any anomalies detected. Both can be installed on the network segment, or software can be installed on a host computer. As mentioned on the previous slide, IDS is deployed on the network passively, where IPS is deployed inline. Both systems have a central management system. The nature of IDS is to alert, which makes it reactive from an attack standpoint, versus IPS, which can deny malicious traffic, making it proactive from an attack standpoint. Now we want to go over some of the proposed IDS tools discussed by the author. So all the IDS solutions discussed do use an open flow protocol, which I will briefly discuss. Um, OpenFlow is a standardized protocol that helps with forwarding behaviors on switches. OpenFlow is a key protocol component that works with many SDN solutions. It helps provide a way to control traffic behavior on switches through the network dynamically or programmatically. The first IDS tool we want to look at is called Event Card, as listed on the slide. Event Card is an open flow management device that is used to counter TCP SYN floods. It works extremely well with software defined network, which is SDN solutions. There is a set of predefined conditions and flow rules to drop packets in the event of a TCP SYN flood attack. Packets are sent to the controller where traffic is scrutinized. Then the packet is sent back out to the switch with a flow modification message, basically instructing to either permit it or to drop the specific packet. From there, this is also used for similar future packets based on matching fields. So I want to go over OpenFlow. I want to explain it. So it's extremely important because these solutions that the author mentioned essentially work with the OpenFlow concept. So OpenFlow, for the sake of simplicity here, this is a typical setup where we have an attacker launch a TCP sync flood attack. In this depiction, the reference switch is a kernel open flow switch, which is S1. And on top, we have an open flow controller. At the bottom, we have an attacker that will launch a TCP sync flood to the HTTP server. So let's skip ARP and pretty much focus on the HTTP request in a malicious environment. The attacker launches a TCP conversation with a sync bit. Okay, so here is the sync packet. If this was a traditional switch, it would follow normal procedure and just, the packet would just get forwarded to the server. However, since this is an open flow switch, it will check its local flow tables. Now, since this is the first packet, flow between the source and destination, it doesn't have a flow entry, so the packet will pretty much get forwarded to the controller. This packet is called packet in, where the controller analyzes the TCP sync message. And again, since this is the first packet flow, the controller will send a packet out to the switch. This is called packet out. The packet out is pretty much an instruction from the controller on what to do with the specific packet. So the sync packet makes it to the server, and then the server pretty much responds back with a sync acknowledgement. However, the connection, since this is a TCP sync flood attack, this particular connection is left half open. So the attacker now sends a new sync request, and the process repeats itself. But this time, the controller will send a flow modification record instructing the switch to drop the packet since an anomaly was detected. So the switch will pretty much update the flow fields on for future similar packets based on matching TCP fields. So going back into our flow here, our slides, the second IDS solution that was discussed is called Indig Sol, which is abbreviated for Indigenous Solution. The system is a hybrid solution, which has the capabilities to detect and prevent sync flood attacks. This is modular in nature and uses four modular approach. The first one is it's the node registration, which basically at first every node needs to get registered in a particular database. The second one is packet capturing. So the system scrutinizes ingress packets by trying that are trying to reach the specific critical server. In the third step, which is the dynamic checksum, in the event of a particular traffic anomaly, the packet are monitored to see if the node is registered in the database. The last is pretty much the hook activation, which basically checks for number of sync bits sent from the user, and from there it pretty much discards any packets with malicious intent. Now, this slide here, we're going to go over the third and the fourth proposed IDS tools. These two solutions are Operetta and Slycots. Operetta and Slycots are, again, they're both SDN software-defined network solutions. However, for Operetta, the IDS feature is implemented on the controller, which has complete information of the network and can identify ongoing attacks pretty quickly. Operetta is very similar to EventGuard, but also works in a heterogeneous network, which means that the policies can be implemented on controllers that are deployed at a user's premises. So in this video, we have not only seen what a sync flood attack is, but we've also identified why it's harmful to a server as it ties up all the server resources. We also took a look at how to stop it by deploying 4 different IDS solutions to help set up a secure threshold policy. And once that policy is triggered, the potential attack is pretty much prevented. In conclusion, I feel that all these reference solutions are viable options to provide a secure network. The paper demonstrated that each solution was effective. However, when determining what platform will work for your company needs, we must identify network applications and services the organization offers. We must also consider that some small to medium-sized companies may not have the capital or resources to maintain the technology, and other solutions pretty much have to be sought. So I hope this video was informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.